the most of the mentors today have come from a corporate functional background. They're in their current role and they want to play in a startup ecosystem. They want to help develop a startup ecosystem. I think it's a great thing. The more the better. Is it the most effective thing? That's what we need to question. And I think the effectiveness will come from primarily how much it's helping a startup. It's helping, and what's the quality of mentoring which is coming in. Now, quality of mentoring from one mentor to other mentor going to vary. So we need to create an environment or a platform where the quality is consistent. That's one thing. Second is then, as we said, the functional mentor who comes from a corporate background can only give corporate related functional advice and an experience. A lot of time it may not be valid for a startup which is in a validation mode, which is testing the concept, because testing the concept requires launch, learn, pivot and apply that. Most of the the experience from a startup is that you've launched, you have a previous experience, some work, some doesn't work, and then you continue to move on. So I think the thought process needs to change. So I think if all the mentor has to play a role, my simple thing is that they can definitely play a role, and they need to play a role is that pass on the functional expertise as and when it needed. I think the role of an environment that gives a consistent access, at least a level which is world leading for every startup in terms of what are the best practices of a startup when they are into a customer finding mode or customer development mode. How do you pivot actually? Why do you need to pivot? What kind of a structure you need to have in startup environment? Is it functional or absolutely diluted that anybody will do everything and we just huddle, we change our decision regularly? Because the thought process is very, very different. And I think that needs to be propagated more and more. But let me also point this to Aftab, because between me and Aftab and Lars, we mentor startups from various locations. What do you think when you are encountering these startups? And I'm sure some of them have mentors, some of them have angel investor who comes from a corporate background. What has been your experience, Aftab?
Yeah, I think the multidisciplinary nature of providing guidance or providing a level of expertise or advice is so important. Whether you look at mature markets or you look at immature markets or emerging markets, a startup founder or anyone who's a new business creator or someone who's set up a new company, in fact, it probably works for scale-ups, people who are seeing growth in their company, and established businesses as well. Fundamentally, you have to make decisions as someone who's at the helm, at the top of the pyramid and needs to drive a business forward. Having different types of people advising you and coaching you and mentoring you at different points is incredibly important. So I think the duality, the multidisciplinary nature, the dynamic nature of having different people advise you is incredibly important. What I would say, I think there's a huge opportunity right now for advice to evolve, for mentorship to innovate itself, for coaching to enter this world, and for it to be a new form of engagement. I don't think the segregation and silos can be tolerated anymore. I think we're now in a time. Let's embrace the startup environment and ecosystem in the way it should be embraced. Let's bring in coaches, traditional coaches, let's bring in traditional mentors and advisors and bring them together to create a new model. This model will not be delivered by everyone. It takes a special type of person to do it. Look, 3 of us come from backgrounds that are corporate. We're leaders, we've been senior individuals in organizations, but we also have a huge lenience towards being entrepreneurs. We've either been entrepreneurs, invested in companies in the past, been involved in companies as advisors, and had some sort of involvement with entrepreneurship. Is that then the major differentiator? And maybe so. Maybe not every person from a corporate institution can become a mentor and a coach, and maybe not every mentor who's a founder and successful person who's exited his company can become a great coach. It takes these ingredients. We have this unique X factor in our team, and we'd like to share that with mentors and advisors in the future and create this new breed of growth coaches. And I think we have to collaborate and work together as a unit to be able to do this. That would be my perspective on it. Lars, what about you?
So I like very much what you see in the gym and the fitness centers today, the personal trainer. I don't use them personally, but I know that a lot of people show up to the gym because they have this appointment with the coach, with the personal trainer. That person, first of all, motivates you. Before anything else, that person gets you in the mood to work out and get your exercises done. And that's an example where it works really well. We know that from decades. That it's a very well-known program. So it's about getting you into the right mental state, and then you start working, identifying what are the weak spots right now. What is it we should be working on? It may be that person is even the person to coach you on how to do that exercise, or bring in someone else with the functional expertise on how to do that exercise. We don't see that at all in the business world or in the startup world, do we? On the other hand, what we do see, I have one example, a recent example. This high net worth individual who exited, it was a $100 million exit roughly. He was a technical co-founder and owned close to 100% of the business. So he was now doing really well, comfortable, and standing on stage advising entrepreneurs in the audience at this event. Now, the question come up, and he was the one to answer it. Was, how do you fund your startup? And he was very confident and said, there's only one way to do. It's bootstrapping, because he hated to give away the control of his business. And that's easy to say with 100 million in the bank account, I would say. But anyway, it is probably the right solution to a lot of startups. But why do you give out one solution only to a lot of different people coming from different backgrounds, sitting in different situations, looking for different solutions? There couldn't be just one solution that fits everyone, I believe. So in my opinion, that was a traditional mentoring approach, really, from someone very experienced, someone who can add a lot of value in terms of giving you advice. I would definitely listen to that person at a certain stage of my business. But that it was the general approach to providing advice to a large audience of very different entrepreneurs that I just felt this doesn't really work. We need something new. We need another approach to learning from each other, learning from those more experienced than ourselves. That's where I see personal coaching come in, and the personal trainer in the gym, and that concept that I see that we are now bringing to the market, to the startup ecosystems around the world.